A question people who are about to start game development ask me more and more is, should they even bother? Game development isn't really the fastest thing you can learn. It can often take multiple years to really make that first good game. And with the rapid advancements that AI has been making recently in terms of writing code, creating 2D art, now even also 3D models and so much more, does it even make sense, or are they already going to be replaced by the time that they really get good at game development? And I just want to say right now, before we really start this video, don't be completely scared of it. The way you're going to be working will shift, but there will always be that human need of figuring out what makes a good game, what is fun, because in the end it's not a robot playing the game, it's a human, and you're still pretty good at being human. Also, it can seem like certain pieces of AI technology, like image generation, are already really far in its development cycle, but take it from me, they are still very, very far from being truly production ready, in my opinion. I just want to say that this video, I'm not going to be talking about the ethics of AI as much and like what this will mean for jobs. I know you guys have really differing opinions on it, so go ahead, leave a comment down below telling me my face is ugly and that I have no clue how AI works. But I just want to talk a bit of how I personally experience working with different AI tools, because we use AI tools. They have helped us a lot, and other ones I've tried out and I'm like, this needs like a few more years in the oven. So I just want to give you an overview of that. Now, before we dive in, let's be honest. It's probably still going to take quite some time before you can actually release your game on Steam and can start earning that sweet, sweet money. But you already managed to convince either yourself or your mom that you really needed that high-spec gaming PC to improve how quickly you could make games. But right now, that's not really earning you any money yet. How about we take that idle time where your PC isn't being used for game development and we can actually turn that into a way that already starts earning you money today. This is where our sponsor Salad comes in. If you have an RTX 3060 or better, you can share your PC's idle resources with other companies who will then be able to use that to train their AI data, so the services we talk about today will get better, or do things like audio transcription, video encoding, and much more. You can earn between $40 and $200 worth of Salad balance each month, depending on how much you convince yourself you really needed that RTX 4090, and you can then use this to redeem games, gift cards, Discord Nitro, and much more. So what are you waiting for? Click the link down in the description to get started today. Last year I headed down to Unity's Unite conference, and one of the mainline topics that they were talking about the entire event basically was their massive advancements in AI with things like Unity Muse and Unity Synthesis. So Muse is things like texture generation, sprite generation. They have an LLM built into the Unity editor. You can ask it things about Unity. And they even have some cool showcase stuff as well, like for example, creating a level just by describing it. Now, I have to be honest, the stuff I saw there, and keep in mind this was at a Unity conference about their upcoming product, so they could completely control all of the samples and all of the examples they gave, was very underwhelming, I have to say. The one advantage that Unity Muse has, which is the reason it probably isn't as good, is that it gives you all the rights to use it, because it's on a custom trained data set and they never scrape things from the internet, which is good. You shouldn't just steal stuff. But it also means that it's not really that great yet. I don't see Muse taking over anytime soon, and that is a general sentiment that I have with a lot of AI technologies. There are a lot of proof of concepts and like alpha stages basically for AI already, especially related to game dev. Things like game engines that say that they like are very AI based and you don't need to learn to program just to showcase it. But I don't think we're fully there yet as of today. There is one big exception. There is one thing that I think if you're a game developer and you program at all, you are needlessly handicapping yourself by not using a large language model for your code. It can be completely free if you use things like Codium, and we use it in our studio as well. Mainly things like Copilot is what I use, and then William also uses Codium. It has massively helped us. What AI does here is it doesn't really take over our jobs. We still need to program a lot of hard mechanics ourselves. But where AI helps us is in doing the difficult but also kind of boring stuff. So things like writing boiler code or dealing with vector trees where you just need to type a lot of repeated data. It can often just do that for you. And it gives us, I think, if I would put a number onto it, we would work 20 to 30% more efficiently right now using those large language model code completion tools. They are really solid. So honestly, I think this is the one thing where you just need to accept that, hey, look, this is already production ready. Try it out. Things like Codium, like I said, are completely free and they can already massively speed up how quickly you can develop. Just plug it into any IDE really and you're good to go. So things like Muse, I wasn't really wowed by it yet, but I don't think that's always going to be the case. There's also this part now where I think we are making massive advancements, but we're not fully there yet. And I think the first big areas where we can really see the impact of AI is in something that you're gonna not really think about yet, but that is AI rigging. Back in the old days, we were looking at things like getting a Rococo mocap suit for our studio, which is like 3,000 euros or something. And that is already a very expensive thing to justify. Even if you're a professional studio, it's questionable spending that much on just having some fancy custom motion capture animations. Sure, there are a bunch of things that you can just get from assets like pre-mocaps, but there are still a lot of situations where you probably want to just act out a specific weapon or a specific animation purely by yourself. Usually you would have to buy that suit. Now things like Rococo has an AI mocap tool where all you need is a camera basically, and it's a pretty solid way to already get just your video footage into a rig. And you need to do a little bit of manual interaction still, but most of it is done for you already. Mixamo also has auto rigging where you can just throw in a model and it will rig it for you, like the bone structure. And then if you combine that with something like Rococo for AI mocap, you can very quickly turn regular models into actual playable in-game characters that can be completely moved around however you want it. This is probably one of the things that I think has had the biggest advancement, and it's kind of on the down low. It's not the most sexy thing, but still, I think this is probably a great example of, okay, we are making progress and it's making game development actually more accessible instead of less, because now you can do more without really having to spend much money on things like those mocap suits. Of course, there's another big elephant in the room in terms of where are we making a lot of progress, and that is in image generation. All of the thumbnails you see on this YouTube channel are Midjourney generated. I use Midjourney quite a bit, but I'm not the biggest fan of it yet in terms of, okay, making full-on games with it. You now see them, there are multiple games on Steam where you can see, okay, their capsules are AI generated, for example, or certain parts of their in-game 2D cutscenes are AI generated. And I'm gonna be honest, you can see it very often and it's not really the most sexy thing right now, especially if you don't know good prompt engineering. I think that's the #1 tip I can give you. If you want to make AI in your game, you're going to need to learn prompt engineering. Don't just ask DALL-E or Midjourney for a person talking or whatever, because especially DALL-E, I think it has very evident black lines. This is something I see a lot. I can almost always immediately spot a very plain DALL-E prompt. It's very visual still. But if you can actually spend a few days just workshopping around, playing around with different kind of prompts, trying to figure out, okay, what really fits the style of my game, you can already improve a lot. But even then, I think there's still some skills also in terms of using things like Photoshop to really add on to the already pre-existing AI or mesh a bunch of different layers together. I think that is definitely still something you need to do in the current stage of image generation. Also things like consistency, for example, having this character look the same across 10 different scenes is pretty hard. I think Midjourney has announced some updates to that, but we're not fully there yet. And I think up until you can really get rid of that AI look by doing good prompt engineering, which also doesn't always work, and having consistent images in consistent styles, until that happens, you won't be seeing that much really of it in professional production ready games. Sure, there is a bunch of AI garbage on Steam already, but it is just that, I have to be honest, it is kind of garbage. If you're just going to ask Midjourney for 10 different item sprites and 5 different AI generated backgrounds, you're gonna have a game, sure, but nobody will buy it because it is a bottom of the barrel tier game. Gonna be honest, it is nowhere near production ready yet, but I think over the next 2 to 3 years, it will drastically improve in that regard. So I would say follow that along, but don't bank on your next game being purely AI art generated, making a 2D art game. We're nowhere near that. And some other things that we're not really near yet is 3D modeling. I know there are once again proof of concepts of text to 3D and text to texturing, but the issue there, especially with the text to 3D, is that once again, there's a lot of telltale signs, there's a lot of artifacts as well, and it kills you in trying to do a single specific style, for example. The current text to 3D models, for example, they don't really have that much knowledge in terms of making optimized models that you can actually put into your game without your game just completely dying immediately. It's also still extremely resource intensive. And then once again, you have the same issues as with regular image generation, that is, it's very inconsistent, and getting that consistency, especially in 3D, is going to be even more visual. Sure, you can do things like shaders to hide a little bit, But still, then you have that problem of, okay, if you have 10 of those like AI generated models and I don't actually know how to decimate them correctly, for example, to reduce their poly counts, you're going to decimate your player's FPS basically, and then you get a bad game. Other things like voice and music is like, we already have a bunch of AI text-to-speech things. The Finals does it as well as like a big AAA game. But once again, not really there yet, and this is something that is going to take a lot of effort still to get that like lost 10 or 20% to make it feel real. Sure, you can make a deepfake of my voice at this point as well and have me be as an announcer in your train dating sim, but you're still going to hear the difference. Even with all of those countless of hours of training data on this YouTube channel, we're not there yet, and it's one of those things that we humans are extremely sensitive to. We can immediately tell when something is wrong in terms of how does someone talk, especially in a more clean setting, which is basically you're sitting at home with your headphones on playing a game. And a similar thing in music, there are AI music generators, once again very limited right now, and the stuff they make as like actual sounds, I wouldn't call that music. I'm not even like a musician. I don't have any like love for music. I like beeps and boops basically, and that's all. But still, we played around with AI generated music as well. If you want to make like generic pop song, it's like, yeah, sure, you can do that. But you probably could just as well get some actual music from like an asset pack at that point, and it's actually going to be cheaper as well than your AI subscription. If you want a more specific style, like we tried it out with Songs Over Jade, also some AI generated stuff, things like asking for more esoteric instruments like a guzheng, it just dies. It has no clue and it doesn't even give me any instruments that sound remotely close to it. So once again, this is one of those things where I don't see a lot of progress happening anytime soon. So in general, is AI going to take over our jobs as game developers? I don't think so. It's going to help us. Things like, for example, like I said, that hey, image generation through Midjourney can help, but I think you as a person are still always going to need to do some extra touch-up, to do some extra corrections. And sure, hey, it's good that it makes your life faster, but it's not going to replace your game dev career anytime soon, if you ask me. So if you are one of those people who's like, hey, I think I'm not gonna become a game developer because I'm scared of AI, I think, I'm gonna be honest, you're kind of coping and you should just give it a shot. It's not that hard to get like basic started into game dev, and if you go into AI with a bit of more of an open mind and you try to use it to your advantage, but not like completely replace most of the stuff that it's doing, like you still try and think about things like art direction and not just ask Midjourney for 10 different characters and you just take those, put them in the game, it's going to be a much better experience. So that was all I really had to say. Once again, also, this video was sponsored by Salad. Go and check them out if you want to earn a little bit of extra money with your GPU and actually rent it out to people who do use AI to make these models that I'm talking about better, to make these services better. I think it's kind of a win-win there. Apart from that, if you're new here, we're game developers. We are just documenting the entire process of our studio, the things we encounter, the problems we deal with, and want to share all of that with you. If that's something that you're interested in, be sure to head down below and subscribe, as it's a win-win for both of us. I know that you like these kinds of videos and you get these videos twice a week. That's all I really had to say. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!